Can you all see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Right. So listen, I've been doing a few videos. Tanaka told me that there's another app I can do to compress them more so they won't take up as much data. I will find out more about that. But in the meantime, at least I've learned how to put on a 5-minute video on WhatsApp. That's a first. But if there's more to learn, I'm going to learn it. So if I can compress it more so it uses less data, I will. Anyway, today we've got a usual Zoom lesson of 40 minutes. And if you see here, I have a diagram where you'll notice I've got a parabola. I don't have to label it twice, sorry. My parabola's name is F. And then you can see I have asymptotes and I have 2 wings, which makes a hyperbola. In this exact exam question, they actually said given. So please notice what is given. They did tell us that f of x, which is the f parabola, equals a bracket x plus p squared plus q. So in other words, they put it in the turning point formula. Then the hyperbola we can recognize because x will be in the bottom. They gave us a over x plus the p plus the q. All right, so that was given. They did also mention that t is the turning point of the parabola f, comma, and it is also the intersection of the asymptotes of the G graph. That's the hyperbola. So it's the point of intersection of the asymptotes, plural, of the G. Okay, so that's what was given. So now let's look at the kind of questions they could ask. Question 1.1. Let's say they say determine the equation of, let's go hyperbola first, G, for 3 marks. Okay, now, if you look carefully, just the last thing I will just point, they would also normally write in words that the point P, where x is 2 and y is 4, they should tell us in words, it lies on both the graphs F and G. Now you have enough information. If you've been watching my 3 5-minute videos on the hyperbola, and we have the asymptotes and another coordinate, you should all be able to get that first question. So I'm going to give you literally 2 minutes to just see if you can get the first question. You might also want to just use that 2 minutes to draw what's given, unless you want to screenshot it at the end. So I'm just going to give you guys 2 minutes. Please determine the equation of G, and G is your hyperbola. Okay, 1 more minute. Okay, guys, I think you've done it. I really do. You can change the g of x to y. Remember, keep a till the end. You write, remember I said, whatever your vertical asymptote is. Do you see it? X equals to plus 1. Do you remember the rule says you must reverse the sign to the opposite? The horizontal asymptote, which is your q, stays as you see it, plus 2. Now, to solve for a, you need any coordinate that lies on this hyperbola. You've actually got 2. You've got use 2, 4, all right? And this plus 2, and here you have a over 2 minus 1 is just 1. What I was doing here, guys, I was just underlining the terms. So you could see we had 2 terms, but I don't want you to think they were division lines. So in other words, if you have a over 1, and that equals to 4 minus 2, which is just 2, then a is 2. First, we're going to analyze our answer. The fact a is positive, and I'm in quadrant 1, makes me very happy. So to answer 1.1, write down the next question. Okay, the next.
Ma'am?
I can't hear.
Okay, ma'am, please just check your screen. It's gone the wrong way again.
Something has changed. Let me just have a look. Sorry, I'm just moving it. I don't know why I did that. Now what's it?
Now ma'am's video is just gone. Ah, here we go.
Back there. Am I right?
There we go. Thanks, ma'am. Both night, ma'am.
I don't know what, but that, you know, what's that girl on the, not Bart and not the little baby with the dummy, the Lisa. Is it Lisa?
Yes, yes ma'am.
This is a bit of your profile picture here. Am I right, my?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it was her.
It is.
Don't turn the screen around again. Okay. All right, angels. You can predict what question 1.2 is. 1.2 is please determine the equation of the parabola. Of G. Now listen very carefully to what I'm going to say. If they give it to you in this formula, you are allowed to leave it in that formula. All right? And they're actually giving you a bit of a clue because we know this is the turning point formula. And if you look most carefully, you should see what to do here. So I'm only making it 3.5 marks. Now I'm joking. Can I put a smiley face? We don't give half marks in maths. We never did. We never have. I'm going to therefore make it 4. But why I was joking is I could do this. But I will 4 marks, but I'm only giving you, from now, 1 minute. Because while I was talking, you were already busy working it out. So hurry up and get me the equation of, not G, F. I don't know if you knew, if that was Lisa again. I'm looking for the equation of the parabola, and the parabola is F. So I want it in that form. Yes, Lanchar?
You wrote G again.
Say again.
You wrote G again.
I wrote G again. I'm telling you, this Lisa is terrible. I want the equation of F, the parabola. Thank you. Was that Nelly?
Yes, ma'am.
I thought so. Okay, sorry guys. I want now, I've done the equation of G. I would never ask you to do that 2 times in a row. I want the equation of F for 4 marks, but I'm only giving you 30 seconds now because I've done a lot of talking. 30 seconds. You can do it. 30 seconds. Right. If you're not finished, you're working too slowly. You've got to learn to work fast. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your turning point in, but remember the P is the axis of symmetry with the reverse sign. So maybe you want to first to say, well, what is that coordinate? We know X is 1 and Y is 2. That is my turning point. But remember, the axis of symmetry comes in here with the opposite side. Have you noticed kind of when you're taking things in and out of brackets, the signs change? If you didn't notice it, well, you should. So look here, we've got X. We don't write +1, we write -1. It is squared because it's a parabola. The plus Q is the minimum value, which in this case is Y equals to 2, plus 2. Keep the original. Now, to get the A, you need a coordinate that lies on your parabola, other than your turning point, which would be 2, 4. So you sub the X in the X, the Y in the Y, and you solve your A. So we're going to have, okay, we've got 2 minus 2 on both sides. 4 minus 2 is just 2, and then it's gone here. And this 2 minus 1 is just 2. If I take 2 minus 1 is 1. If I square 1, it's 1. So 1A is 1. 2. Sorry, I've just come back from Greenside. I don't know why my mind is all over the place because I actually had a relatively good lesson. So look here. Even though I said everything wrong as I was writing stuff, the equation of the parabola. A is positive, which makes me at least happy. Okay, we put 2 there, and then remember it's X minus 1 squared, and I'm going to remove that and just put the as plus 2. How did we get the turning point? Well, I think you can see it's the intersection of your asymptotes. Now, guys, there's a lot of 2's in these questions. I don't know. To be or not to be. Which Shakespearean play does that come out of, guys?
Hamlet.
Hamlet.
Well done.
Yes.
Okay. So, screenshot, because I'm going to take it away. All right. Now, surely the questions must become more interesting. I certainly hope so, because so far I'm bored out of my wits. 1.3. Okay? Write down the range. Now, we've got to see of which graph and if they're going to manipulate it. But it's going to be boring. Of the parabola F. Write down the range of F. Okay, I'm giving you exactly 5 seconds. I'll count it in my head. 5 seconds starting now. Okay, that's all you needed. For those who've gone blank, range is the one with the tail, so that is the y. There's two ways you could write this. You either say y is greater or equals to the y value of the turning point. Remember, if you don't include that value there, then for the parabola, you will not get a turning point. You will get a hole. Now, I know that the hyperbola can't touch the line of there, there, y is 2, but the parabola can. The parabola does not have asymptotes. So you must include the 2. So from there we go up. If you prefer, you could have written your answer as y is an element, then 2 would be the smallest, positive infinity the biggest. A square bracket means we're including the minimum value and you never reach infinity. How they mark this is normally 1 mark for your values and 1 mark for notation. So let's say, Nelly, you make both of these a round bracket. You might, if you're lucky, get 1 out of 2. But if you write rubbish here and rubbish there, and the notation is rubbish, you'll get 0. Because rubbish equals rubbish. Do you agree, guys? It's an equation. Can I erase this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So your life lesson today, rubbish equals to rubbish. Never forget that. But, having said that, can I give you one life lesson? Mother Teresa once said that someone's rubbish can be another person's treasure. So now that I've thought about that, if you throw away something you don't want, that might be something very important to someone who finds it and wants it. So actually, rubbish is not equals to rubbish. Rubbish could equal to someone else's treasure. Do you agree with my life theory, guys? Okay, it's gone very quiet.
Yes, ma'am.
If the graph h of x equals to the graph g of x minus 1, write down the range of h, 2 marks. Right? I'll give you 30 seconds. Done. Now, if you haven't watched my videos, a lot of you might then say, who the hell's H? Okay, the graph H is not drawn here, but your graph H is your G graph, which is just, the G graph is the hyperbola. Do you see that? And you should all know if I go your G graph, your hyperbola minus 1, it means you are moving your hyperbola, everything, vertically down by 1. Everything down by 1. The main is you will the horizontal asymptote is now equals to 1. So to get the graph, you go back to the graph, vertically shifted, top does not vertically shifted, the vertical asymptote. Just remember we sign. The thing that will change will be the Q. And if I'm bringing it down by 1, it's now going to be plus. Now, they didn't ask for the equation on the range. I just want you to understand we can go from this infinity for y all the way to its new horizontal asymptote. But I can't include y is 1. But because we put it down, that is the asymptote that we can go up. So the range, the y values graph, and I would say y is of any, but but I cannot, because we brought down the original down by, if you could go, I is an element from minus infinity to round 180, round. Never include asymptotes when it comes to any asymptote. So do you notice they often bring in another graph, vertical something notation. You know, I know I've got, well, since I'm making up the questions, let's, so question 1.5, let's say if of x equals to minus x, right? Put it in one line. It's a separate question, 1.5, right? Down what? The range P. So in this example, the G, but we have the original G graph. But what I've done is change, and I've put a minus in front there. So you have to know what that means. So if you put a minus in front of your graph, you have to know that means we are reflecting the original graph, which would be G, and if you make it minus in front of the Y, so it's about your X axis. Now that's the first thing you've got to know. So if I put in, and I fold my page on the X axis, do you agree that horizontal asymptote of Y equals to 2 will actually end up being there, Y equals to minus 2. And then everything else will be reflected. But the main thing is that horizontal asymptote is going to reflect. Because if you fold your page, that's the main thing. So basically, you get the same thing as Y is an element of any real number, but because we've reflected about the x-axis, then obviously for the range, we will say, but Y can't be the negative 2, because that horizontal line has now moved down there. All right, so they do often bring those type of questions in. I'm going to erase all of the above, because I don't even need to know what the range is for me to go on to my next question. So if you want to screenshot that, you are very welcome. Okay, 1, 2, 3, and I'm erasing it. Right. This is so much more fun than being in class, because when I'm in class and I say to you chickens, okay, I'm going to erase it, you're all saying, no, I'm still copying it down, I'm still copying it down. But guess what? You can't tell me that because I can't hear you. But I do miss you. I do. Okay, let's look at the next question, guys. The next, oh, look at this. Now, this would be 1.6. If the graph F, now remember, who's F? The parabola. If F is shifted 1 unit to the left, what else? What else? 2 units down, all right? Then what I want you to do is comma, write the equation of F, wait, write the new equation, let's get the English right, after obviously all the translation in the form y equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. But it's only 2 marks, take note. All right, so let's see if you know what to do. They're saying if you take your parabola and you shift it, a better word for shifting is translate. But they will accept shift. So if you translate your graph 1 unit to the left and then 2 units down, what is the new equation that 22 marks? You don't need more than 30 more seconds. Okay. Now, let's shift to parabola. You actually need your original parabola format. Look, it's right there. Now, we know the turning point of the original f, x is 1 and y is 2. Now, let's move my finger according to what they say. It's a shift. What do they say? They should 1 unit to the left. Therefore, the x value, which is the symmetry, will go on your y-axis. But they said and 2 down. Now, because the y value is 2, bring it down, the point will be 0, 0. Let's go further up. But let me tell you something. If you shift the parabola, you do not ever, ever change the a. So I'm going to read it's going to be y equals a is 2, and it's going to be x squared plus nothing plus nothing. But if you don't believe me, I'll show you what you have. If you take your parabola, okay, there's a. Now, if you shift the parabola 1 to the left, rule says you add 1. But you see, if you want to the minus 1, you take your x. The y and squared, so that will just give you your x. And if you shift it down by 2, then you read that will cancel out, which means you're only left with that. If they ask me what my new turning point would be, I would say note. Okay, there's one more question. Just one little tiny question, but I'm just thinking, oh, I could make more questions out of this. So maybe I'm going to lie on that. Forget one more. It's horrible to end on an odd number. I'm actually going to give you 2 more questions. All right? So let's now look at 1.7. And in order for me to do that, I first want to remove the shifted parabola. Yes?
10 minutes left.
I knew you were going to say that. Did you notice I jumped 1 centimeter in the sky when you said that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you did. Yeah. I got it right. But guess what? I'm over it. 10 minutes is a long time. That's 2 of my home movies. All right. So we only need 10 minutes. All right. Oh. I should have maybe left the picture, but I'll put it back. 1.7 for 2 marks said describe the nature of the roots of the new parabola that we got after the translation. Now, just because you guys might have a mind like a sieve, if you remember, okay, I wrapped it up, but I translated it 1 to the left, 2 down. So my new parabola is basically, I'm not going to go far, but it's doing that. So that would be the parabola y equals to 2x squared. All right, and I think you can see where it's turning. So what can you tell me about the nature of the roots? I'll tell you, you definitely have real roots. Without a doubt, real roots. Okay, now let's just see if they're rational or irrational. If the equation is f of x equals 2x squared and your discriminant equals b squared minus 4ac, well, there's no b to square, let alone a b, and any c is gone. So you're actually going to get your discriminant as naught. But you can see it's naught because where's it turning? It's turning on the x-axis. That means your roots are rational. Now you get the mark on rational, because remember, if it's real, it has to either be rational or irrational. And remember, it is a perfect square, so rational. And then that is one x-intercept. So it would be equal roots. So just so you know, they can bring the nature of the roots into the actual graph questions. All right. So if you want to screenshot that, 1, 2, 3, done. Right, 1.8. Now I want to remove this red parabola. It's in my face, it's in the way, and I know I still have 5 minutes. So before you shout out, man, you have 5 minutes, I know. This is my next question. That's my y-axis. It got a bit rubbed out, sorry. Okay, if this is point B, okay, go back to the original parabola. F of x, if you remember, was 2x minus 1 squared plus 2. I want the coordinates of B. Now you'll notice that is your y-intercept. You cannot get your y-intercept by looking at the equation if it's in its turning point formula. You've got to obviously, to get the y-intercept, let what? Let x be naught. So we're going to get y equals 2, nothing minus 1 squared plus 2. So y equals to 2, nothing minus 1 is minus 1, squared is now 1. So you're going to get 4. So as a coordinate, because remember I said coordinates, x would be naught as it's on the y-axis and y would be 4. So don't forget to put it in its coordinate. Right. Now, I've got one question. Hatcha, how many marks left?
5 minutes, ma'am.
5 minutes. I don't believe you. I had 5 minutes 1 minute ago. So once you've screenshotted this, I'm going to say we have 2 minutes left. The last question. I think we're on 1.9. I think. And that would be this. If the parabola f of x, and please take note, I'm talking the original one, if it equals to k, what value or values of k will make my parabola f have 2 positive unequal roots? Now, these kind of questions, a lot of students have no freaking idea what to do. So let me just explain it to you. If I go to the minimum value there, where y is 2, so I know a root is where your graph cuts the x-axis, but I want you to put your ruler on the x-axis, which is the y equals 0 line, which means k would be 0. And we're just going to now move it up or down. Now, if you move it down, it's not going to touch your parabola, so that's the wrong direction. If we move it up to where y is 2, because that's the minimum value, that means 2 would also be K, not just Y. Do you agree it's only cutting my parabola once? Now they said specifically we want 2 roots, but they both have to be positive and different. So now check this. If I go higher than 2, let's make it 2.5. Do you see I get 2 cuts, 2 roots? They both where X is positive and they're different. And if I go higher to, let's say where X is 3, look, I get 2 cuts, 2 roots. They're both positive and they're different. But now if I go as high as to where Y is 4, which means K would be 4, do you see the one root is on the Y-axis, which is 0? The other root is positive. Now 0 is not considered positive, and if you go higher, do you see you get a negative root and a positive root. So basically we've got to just explain that K must be greater than 2, but smaller than 4. So as long as K, and remember K, your graph equals K, that's just like a number. And it's just your x-axis is a y equals 0 number. So that is where K is 0. That is where K is 2. So when K is 2, it's cutting your graph once. If you go higher, we have 2 positive cuts. They are positive and different. But when we get to where Y is 4, which means K is 4, one root is 0, one is positive, and then one is negative, positive. So that is your answer. Now I know, Haja, am I right? I have 1.5 minutes left. Am I right, Lamb Chop?
You are incredibly accurate, ma'am.
Yeah, that was a guess. So life lesson 2421. If you're not sure about anything in life, guess. My matrics did a multiple choice cycle test the other day, and quite a few of them, when they couldn't answer the question, was it A, B, C, D, they left it blank. Now, surely you have a 25% chance of getting it right. So if in doubt, guess. Write something. Don't do nothing. That is my life lesson for today. I'll see you tomorrow.